Well, if you've been reading the pastor's notes in the weekly email, and thank you, Erica, for the plug for people to read their email. What? We should start putting like puzzles and things in there, like Taylor Swift does, little things. Just saying. So, you might know that I've been on some adventures lately. So 10 days ago, I flew to Lake Tahoe to spend the weekend with dear friends from Los Angeles for a big birthday bash. My friend had rented 2 houses up on a hill in Tahoe City overlooking the beautiful lake. The house I stayed in had a deck that went the entire length of the house with an unobstructed view of the lake and the trees and the mountains. I know, so rough. So rough. For my friend's birthday party, my friend hired a chef and a bartender to come to the house and cater our meal. She took us out to a nice dinner the next night. We rented boats and got to swim on the lake. Y'all are never going to let me leave again. The boat captain pointed out where Mark Zuckerberg has a house on the water with a helicopter landing pad. We went on some beautiful nature hikes and walking trails. My friend's 94-year-old mother made it up to the top of the lookout called Eagle's Nest. Everybody we passed, her granddaughter would say, "She's 94 doing this walk." We sat in the hot tub at night and looked up at the Milky Way and watched for shooting stars. Yeah. The entire weekend was possible because of the generosity of my friend and her willingness to spend the money to help her family and friends gather in a beautiful place and celebrate her big milestone birthday. And it's not only that. This group of friends and family has experienced real heartbreak and grief and disappointment. So this was not a gift just to celebrate a birthday, but it was a gift to bring everyone together and to celebrate life, to truly live, to give thanks to God, to strengthen the ties that bind. And it was worth every penny. The weekend was over too soon, and early on Monday morning, like 5 a.m. early, I was on a flight to New Orleans to meet Sue Martino and Sandy Nicholson for a conference on congregational giving. Yeah, I know, thrilling. It was called Stewardship Kaleidoscope. So I went from 6,200 feet elevation to below sea level. All of a sudden, I was sitting in a very cold conference room at the Sheraton on Canal Street, hearing about the theology of generosity. And I texted friends and said, "Remember this time yesterday when we were on a boat swimming in Lake Tahoe?" But the funny thing was, I had just had this very tangible, lived experience of generosity. Stewardship is defined as the job of supervising or taking care of something such as an organization or a property. And when we talk about stewardship in the church, we mean the important task of caring for our building, but also the church staff, our church programming, our mission partners, the wide variety of mission partners in which we are involved. And our church is supported almost entirely by congregational giving, naming that we are the ones who keep the church financially afloat. It's us, y'all. We are the ones we've been looking for. Without our financial contributions, we would no longer exist. And we're not starting stewardship until 2 weeks from now, where the Finance and Stewardship Committee, along with the session and myself, will be asking all of us to pray and ponder on what we can commit to giving to UPC in 2026 out of our precious time, our God-given talents, and our hard-earned treasure. It's called a pledge. And it's how we set our budget for the next year. The Finance and Stewardship Committee collects everyone's pledges and sets the budget for 2026. Sounds simple enough, although we know that more goes into it than simply collecting pledges and doing some math. Generosity is a choice. It's not always an easy choice to make when we are faced with how many thousands of decisions every single day. Choosing to be generous sometimes can take a back seat. Paul's ancient words to his friend Timothy are a reminder to us today of the importance of our choices around generosity, the fruitless pursuit of earthly things, and even our choices around contentment. We do live in a society that puts great emphasis on being happy. And we might come across the question of happiness on a regular basis. Are you happy? Most frequently, I hear this question when I've been served food at a restaurant. Are you happy? Are you good? You have everything you need? But what about contentment? Are you content? Content with your life? With what you have? With who you are? With your relationships? With how you spend your precious time, your God-given talents, and your hard-earned treasure? Maybe you are. I hope you are. Truly. But considering we all might have room for improvement around our level of contentment, we have this reminder from Paul about what's really important, about what really matters, and about where our hope truly lies. Because it's not in our bank accounts or our retirement funds or our piggy banks. And it's not even in this church building, this lovely campus. We know all too well how things can change in a heartbeat. And the material things we thought we had go up in flames or get washed away in floodwaters, or are pounded by hurricanes. Just being in New Orleans reminded me that this is the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. It's been 20 years and 1 month since that epic hurricane. And we listened to a presentation on resilience from a pastor of a New Orleans church that sustained major damage to their building, and 90% of the congregation also had major damage to their homes. And this pastor spoke about taking it day by day, step by step, and ways the community came together to support one another, to help one another to rebuild together. She spoke about how many people from outside New Orleans came to help them clean up and reassemble. She proclaimed the good news to us of God's faithfulness and mercy, and how we are the hands and feet of Christ in the world. When her presentation was over, I turned to my friend Molly and I said, "That was a sermon." Paul writes to Timothy, we didn't bring anything into the world, and so we can't take anything out of it. We'll be happy with food and clothing, but people who are trying to get rich fall into temptation. Now, I do want to clarify that wanting to get rich is not the same thing as wanting to get financially stable, okay? It's true that chronic poverty is a source of illness and death. The stress and anxiety of poverty has physical ramifications that are passed on from generation to generation. One of the topics we discussed at this stewardship conference was the difference between generational attitudes towards money and the reality of different contexts of economic status around the ability to give to the church, or really give to anyone or anything beyond paying your own rent and feeding your own family. That's just a reality. But that is not what Paul is talking about. The desire to take care of oneself to ensure financial security for your family, that's not what Paul is warning against. He's writing about something far more insidious, in part because it can easily hide behind the desires that are honest and understandable. It's like this desire for more can easily sneak up on us. It starts with a desire for stability, but then when is enough enough? This is why Paul calls it a trap. And I love his honesty in this. He calls it like he sees it. He calls it a trap. He says people trying to get rich for the sake of being rich are trapped. And then we have this famous line, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Some have wandered away from the faith, he goes on, and have impaled themselves with a lot of pain because they have made money their goal. That's self-inflicted. And I get it. We live in a capitalist society that makes it easy to fall into this trap. That actually says that more is the goal, that bigger is better, that more is more. We want more. And our politicians certainly live by this motto. We equate God's approval with wealth. Our me-first attitude turns being poor into a crime and a commentary on someone's lack of value and virtue. We're tempted to get comfortable in our meaningless competitions over status and social hierarchy while too easily ignoring the plight of all of those suffering, from Palestinians across the globe to those here in our own city who are suffering from hunger. It's too overwhelming and we feel too hopeless. Which is why Paul says that our hope is not in our finances, which are uncertain. It can go just as fast as it came. Instead, we hope in God, who richly provides everything for our enjoyment. Paul writes, do good, be rich in the good things that we do. Be generous, share with others. Open up our fists, let things go a bit more. Pursue righteousness, holy living, faithfulness, love, endurance, and gentleness. When we do these things, we will save a treasure that is a good foundation for the future. Indeed, these things can also be passed on from generation to generation to generation. These are choices that we make. These are lessons that we are taught. The temptations for more are always around us. They're not going anywhere. I mean, let's get real. It wasn't hard to look at the beautiful lakeside estates in Tahoe and wonder what it would be like to have one. But rest assured, my friends, your pastor is not in the market for a lakeside manor with a helicopter landing pad. No, thank you. As people of faith, we know the difference. We know the difference between the trappings of our world and what truly matters in this life. So may we be rich in generosity. May we be rich in faith. May we be rich in hope. This, Paul says, is the way we can take hold of what is truly life. Thanks be to God. Amen.